Hello everybody, and it is time for ESR commentary from the Lausitzring for the ESR Manufacturer Championship Series. This is one of those, we're doing these a lot, like where it's multi-car series. And what I mean by that is that every round is a different car. Round 1 was the BMW M235i. Then we had the Audi TT-RS. And now we have the Nissan Skyline R32K, which is an old school car. That's an interesting flag there for Eric S. I don't think I know that one. And we've got 3 races, 15 minutes apiece. And yeah, that's what's coming down to. So let's get ready for the action here. This is the first time I'm doing commentary with a new setup. So, like, if anyone notices an audio difference from prior recordings that involve myself, there's obviously the other recording team, Matt Higgs, Cole McRae, and company. But I, Michael Magus, have a new recording setup. Let me know if you think it's good. The feedback so far has been that, like, there's a little bit of an echo, but that the voice is a little bit warmer, a little bit more intense, and hopefully, that's a good trade-off. And the deal is basically I'm in a different room of the apartment that is kind of canyon-like. Tobias Theerolf on pole, Magic Kashchuk second, James Butler, Martin Edmonds, Steve Davidson, Laissez Passer, João Carapo, Rene Irmer, John Barker, and Eric S. is your 10-car field. I don't know if we have more cars, and they just haven't posted a laptop, or if this is it. I do like that black and red car livery that Tobias, Laissez, and João are running. Those look very, very sharp. Not a lot of variety, though. Not a ton of variety in the liveries. So 15 minutes. I don't know if we're going to get any kind of reverse grid for the second and third race, but we'll find out as we roll through the 3-minute warm-up here. Looking down the pit lane as we wait for somebody to come out. There we go. Magic Kashchuk in the nice blue car, going to head out on track. Cal Sonic sponsored Nissan, number 12 car. And we'll see what he does. I wonder if so it looks like they're maybe doing some starts practices. Could be that this is a case where we got some something weird. I know Race Rooms introduced a lot of like different starting modes, launch control, and that kind of thing. So I do wonder if perhaps these cars have something interesting along those lines, and we might see a lot of difference at the start, because that's 2 cars now that we've seen kind of just doing practice starts. As there is your pole sitter, Tobias Theerolf for the number 2 car, the SDP sponsored Nissan. I do love these cars. They're old. They're I want to say from like the 1990s question mark, but they do look really, really nice. They got a very nice retro feel to them, and also probably helps that at one point one of my grandparents owned a very similar car to this, and so you know there's that flashback to a simpler time. Don't know what hang on a sec. Let me see if we got it here. So this is the DTM, oh no, this is the Grand Prix course. Okay, so all the races over this series are at Lausitzring. They did the short course, the DTM course, now it's the Grand Prix course. Round 4 will be the DTM Grand Prix with the Ford GTR3 car. And then the final, oh lord, the Grand Prix Oval T1 layout with the Koenigsegg CCGT. Oh my god, that is gonna be insane. That is gonna be all kinds of wrong things. Okay, this is apparently is a 2:25-minute race. Okay, so I got 2 25-minute races here. It was 3 15 minutes for the first 2. I don't know why. Interesting. Interesting if maybe they're like going for a lap count or something. I'm not sure. We We'll find out. I could have sworn, I skipped ahead in this video, and I could have sworn there was a race 3, but according to Race App, we should only see 2. James Butler, oh, gives it a spin and gets nerfed. And somebody goes off. That was like, I don't know, probably a couple $1,000s in damages if this were real life. So, you know, thank God it's a sim. Thank God it is a video game. So let's see here. How have the first 2 rounds of this gone? I guess that would be the question here. As the grid forms up. Scoring details! Okay, so at the first round, Anthony Willis took a win. Okay, that's really cool. Anthony Willis was a winner along with Tobias Thierolf taking 2 wins. And then in round 2, Thierolf took a win, Martin Edmonds took a win, and Bertrand Barrier took a win. So we've seen 1 interesting winner so far. And we do actually have 11 cars. Ken Scott and Ricardo Costa also on the grid. And we're waiting for the green lights, and there we go. We are off here at the Lausitzring with the Nissan Skylines. And we're heading down to the first corner. Looks like Thierolf has gotten off to a notably bad start there as James Butler takes the lead there in the Reebok sponsored car. Kashchuk slets into third, so a really good start for Butler. I think he started from P3, if I recall correctly. And he is now up into the lead. Martin Edmonds in the mix there, along with Laissez Passer, Steve Davidson, your top 6. And there is Tobias Thierolf trying to go down the inside here. Will he get the job done? Camera not really giving us a hand here. And yeah, maybe. Butler is quite wide, but he's got the inside line. Inside line translates over to Thierolf. We're on board with him. Still behind. Contact back in the pack. Laissez Passer and... True that there's Rene Irmer recovering from the spin. I think it was Zhao Carapau that the contact was with, but Thierolf has taken the lead. He's out in front, followed by Butler, Kashchuk, Davidson, and John Barker up into the top 5. Eric S. off to a good start. He's up into 6th place, having qualified in 10th. Ricardo Costa and Ken Scott also on a good run. It's Ken Scott or Kevin Scott. My apologies if I have that wrong. I know it's one of them. They are up from the last row to 7th and 8th place. Courtesy of Passe's contact with, again, I believe Carapau, Edmonds, and Irmer having, I believe, unrelated incidents. Picking up James Butler here. So what's the lap time around here? We're about to find out as they cross the line here for their first one. There you go. 2 minutes and 8 seconds. So probably looking at about 7 to 8 laps around the circuit here today. We'll find out. It is a 15-minute race, so the 225s that is listed on Race App, I believe, is incorrect. Kashchuk in third. Him and James Butler have had a number of battles over the last couple of series, so these two know each other very, very well. Tobias Thierolf, of course, has been a dominant force in these multi-community events, leading the Tugas Racing charge. Community that is based out of Portugal, but has members across North America, South America, and Europe. Not terribly different than ESR in that regard. On board with James Butler in 2nd place. Not really much happening there. Kind of has a decent cushion back to Kashchuk of about a second. And he's about a second behind the race leader, Tobias Thierolf. Steve Davidson, John Barker, Passe is back up in his 7th place, so he's on the charge again. Edmonds is also up into the top 10 once again. Side-by-side action there as Rene Irmer overtakes Ken Scott, or Kevin Scott, again. Hopefully we get him on camera so I can confirm which it is. I know it's one of the two. Magic Koenigsegg in third. Couple of new names. I don't think I've seen Eric S. before. I don't think I've seen Zhao Carapal before. So, tip of the headphones and welcome to you two gentlemen. Haven't seen you on the grid before, but that doesn't mean you haven't been. I don't usually handle the commentary for this series, so it's quite possible that they were here for the first 2 rounds and I'm just unaware of it. Gap is closing. Koenigsegg got it down to about 0.6 of a second between him and James Butler. So 3 seconds off there, or 0.3 off there. And they are doing sub 2-minute laps now, so definitely we'll be looking at about the 8-lap range around this track. Pretty tight field. No one's really on their own. Ricardo Costa getting a slowdown penalty for track limit abuse. I believe that's the first steward's decision we have seen handed out. So he is the first man to the sin bin. There's John Barker. He's got Steve Davidson ahead of him. These two are also pretty familiar with one another. They've kind of been a midfield rivalry for quite some time. Steve's a bit of a weird one. Like we've seen Steve Davidson be like really towards the sharp end of the field at various points, like where he looks like he's making the breakthrough into being a top 5 driver, a guy who's going to compete for not necessarily a championship, but like maybe a couple of podiums, a couple of top 5s, be a real force in the pack. And then some races he just kind of slicks back. So hopefully he can find himself a little bit more consistency as he now runs behind John Barker. S is hanging on to 6th place. That's good to see. Passe, Edmonds, Carapau, and Ermer rounding off your top 10. Pardon me. Only a 12-man grid today, but I'm actually rather looking forward to the season finale here for this series with the Koenigseggs. That is going to be fascinating and horrifying. As Magic Koenigsegg has it lined up heading down to turn 1, looking to take 2nd place away from James Butler. Battle of the Brits, and can he get it done? Looks like he will get it done. So Koenigsegg becomes the top Brit. The Brits doing quite well in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. Koenigsegg shoving Butler out onto the grass, but nothing too problematic. And further back, we still have Davidson applying pressure to John Barker. Still, I am legitimately wondering what Eric S.'s flag is. I don't think I've seen that flag before. The horizontal stripe, lime green, white, and blue. I'll look that up after the race. Be interesting to know. Feel like maybe African? Maybe African. But honestly, but like almost by process of elimination, Africa tends to be where it is whenever I don't recognize the flag, because there's not a lot to know about North America. I do know South America pretty well. I know Europe pretty well because of dealing with various sports and obviously handling some of this commentary gig. But the African flags is where we tend to lose it a little bit. Sometimes the Caribbean as well. Could be one of those. Side by side there between Passe and Edmonds. Edmonds not making it stick, and Passe hanging on to 7th place. There's Martin going down the inside again, trying to get the job done. Carapau also standing on there in 9th place. But it is going to be Edmonds ahead of Laissez-Passer for the time being. 7th place here with about 7 minutes to go. Probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 laps. So I believe this is the 4th lap that they are completing now. And the beginning of lap number 5. Butler is not quite stuck with Koenigsegg, so Tobias Thero pulling away in the distance. 4.4 seconds up now. Koenigsegg 2nd, Butler 3rd. And then you've got John Barker, Davidson, S, Edmonds. This battle here between Edmonds, Passe, and Carapau over 7th place. Edmonds going defensive here against Passe. Not sure what turn this is. Man, that's a lot of wiggle. That is a lot of wiggle we're seeing off of these cars. Again, older cars, very powerful, not necessarily the highest downforce. So they are definitely much more of a handful than you'd be used to if you're someone who races a lot of like higher tech cars, even like GT3s. This would be a definitively different feel, different kind of bucking bronco, if you would. As Martin Edmonds goes wide there, it allows Passe alongside, but the camera is going to cut away from that battle. And it looks like Passe has gotten the better of it. At least for now, that gap has grown to 0.3 of a second. Gap at the front is up to almost 6 seconds. Probably going to go over 6 seconds here in a little bit. That's between Theorolf and Kaschuk, with James Butler eating back into it. He's got it back under a second. So he's trying to make a play for that second place still. As that was Martin Edmonds, I do believe, sideways on track. And he will drop back. I wonder if there was contact with Passe or with Carapau, maybe? Edmonds, of course, is a race winner in this series. Has historically been a guy who is pretty good at Lausitzring. That's why I think you'll note in ESR history that the series that go to Lausitzring tend to be his, and Laissez-Passer having a little bit of a moment there as well. And Carapau has gone from 9th place to 7th place, just like that. Slow down penalty from Martin Edmonds. Track limit abuse. And we keep watching Butler here. We've seen a lot of James Butler, which is not unusual because James Butler is a guy who action follows. He has a certain ragged style to him. Really takes the car by the scruff of the neck and manhandles it around the course. He's a guy that, like, at any second things can get interesting around in a way that doesn't necessarily match other drivers. Barker's still in 4th place. Davidson, S. So top 6 has been pretty static lately. Carapau, Passe, Ermer, Edmonds. And then there's a long way back to Costa and Scott, who are still circulating in 11th and 12th place. But I don't think their teams are expecting anything more than what they got right now here in the last 3 minutes of the race. There is your boy Steve Davidson. Running the nice blue car there. And there is James Butler. Barker and Butler both running the Reebok liveried car. As if the two JBs are not confusing enough as is. Xiao Carapau, running in 7th place, is hunting down Eric S. a little bit. That gap is down to about 1 second. 1.1, 1.2, that area. Can he make it stick, though? That's the question. Catching is one thing, passing is another. After this, I'm going to be watching some fights for prepping up for my podcast recording tomorrow. If you enjoy mixed martial arts, you can check out my podcast on Spotify, Acast, YouTube, and on Anchor, all under the name Mio on MMA. Give it a shout if you like the fighting arts. Obviously, if you don't, there's not going to be a lot of appeal there. But I will shamelessly plug what I got right now. Or you can just contact me on Discord. That also works. Xiao Carapau is on the back of Eric S. Looking to the inside, but I think that gap is going to close. A little bit of contact there. That's a little pushy there, Mr. Carapau. I think that door was always going to close. Seems like turn 1 is the spot to go for it. That seems to be like the prime overtaking spot on this track. Very wide, very long run, which they're beginning right now. So this would be where I would be focusing on being very, very close and trying to make the move. I think there's a little bit too much separation there, but it is closing. Looks like Carapau does have a straight line speed advantage. I think he's coming out of that draft way too early, though. And indeed, there will be nothing this time, and that is their last time through turn 1, I do believe, because this will be the final lap. Tobias Thierolf, Magic Kaszczuk, James Butler up in front. John Barker, Steve Davidson, and then this battle between S and Carapau. Laissez-Passer also in the mix. We'll see how that goes. I think the camera will be here for a while. Not really a ton happening elsewhere on the track. Ricardo Costa picking up a slowdown penalty. Not been the best performance we've seen from Ricardo Costa. Can Eric S. hold on to 6th place against Xiao Carapau? Predominantly, but also laissez-passer. Particularly if these two come to blows. But it looks like that wide run there by Carapau probably will end that fight. Butler is within distance of Kaszczuk, but realistically, it looks like he really couldn't get it down to much less than a second. And laissez-passer might have the best chance of getting a spot here against Carapau. They're only 5/10 apart. Checkered flag is out. Thierolf is your winner, I do believe. Kaszczuk and Butler will join him on the podium. John Barker, Steve Davidson, Eric Ness, Xiao Carapau. Laissez-passer, your top 8. Followed by Rene Ermer, followed by Martin Edmonds, Ricardo Costa, and again, Kevin or Ken Scott. I should have the answer when we get the there we are, Ken Scott. My apologies for not remembering your first name. I remember he raced at Watkins Glen in the Porsche GT Cup Series. Commentary that I did not too long ago. Also interesting that Ricardo Costa, the main admin for Tugas, and Martin Edmonds, the main admin for ESR, same livery. Both running the orange and white car. And here comes Ken Scott. Did Costa finish the race? What's he doing? Going across the line backwards. That's ballsy. That's ballsy. I mean, still gets to the same spot, but oh boy. Fastest lap going to Tobias Thierolf. He got down sub 2 minutes, as did Kaszczuk and Butler. But kind of spoke the field there. 9/10 faster than anybody else. So Tobias Thierolf is absolutely the guy to beat here. And we'll find out in race 2 if we have some kind of reversed grid to look forward to. That is not a healthy engine sound. I'm just going to say that right now. All right, got another 3-minute warm-up here. Time to kill. So, I'm having a hard time giving you any predictions for race number 2 because I don't know how far the reverse grid goes on this one. I feel like the guy to look out for, though, is Martin. You know, felt like he finished out of position. But also, you got to look at guys like Rene Ermer, Laissez-Passer, maybe even João Carapau, as guys who this could benefit. Because you got Thierolf, if there is a reverse grid, coming from fairly far back. And these are guys that maybe don't have the speed, maybe don't have the ability to fight fair, like straight up fight with Thierolf, out-qualify him, out-race him. But maybe they have the ability to keep him behind, or at least make him work. That would be the intriguing thing. I assume we're getting a reverse grid because race 2 in the previous 2 rounds produced slightly odd winners given their other results. So I assume that's what's at play here. And there's not going to be a lot of time to make up the ground, obviously. 15 minutes, 8 laps is not a long time in racing. It's a relatively short time. And while Lausitzring does not lack overtaking zones, there's not a ton of amazing overtaking zones at the same time. So it could be interesting. We'll just leave it at that. It could be interesting. We'll also see if James Butler can pull off his the really good start he had in race 1, because he went from 3rd to 1st. And replicating that start is going to be a big deal for him. We'll see how it goes. That's kind of how this is going to be all, like, we'll see how it goes. 20 some odd seconds here left in the warm-up. Watching Steve Davidson. 5th place finisher in race 1. Had a quiet day, more or less. Had a little bit of a fracas with John Barker that he inevitably lost out on. But I'm sure he'll... I'm sure he's... I'm sure if you told him before the race started that he was going to come home in 5th, probably would be an acceptable result. There is a video up on my YouTube feed. The real reason Alpine didn't want to sign Daniel Ricciardo. Interesting. I assumed... my personal thought was that Daniel Ricciardo didn't get signed because he's kind of underachieved for his 2 seasons at McLaren. I wouldn't say that he's chopped liver that he's done, but his comparison with Lando Norris has not been a positive one. And we'll see. Wasn't that long ago that he was wiping the floor with Nico Hulkenberg, though. So Martin Edmonds will start from pole, so it is a top 10 reverse grid. That's really good for Martin. So we know Martin does have... There we are. We're off. We know Martin has some good wheel-to-wheel racing instincts. He's got some speed. We know that he had some bad luck, honestly. 2 big incidents in race 1. So maybe he's a guy to bet some money on. And he is off to the lead ahead of Rene Ermer and Eric S. Steve Davidson in 4th place, followed by James Butler, João Carapau, John Barker, Thierolf's up in 8, Ken Scott, Magic Kazachuk, Laissez-Passer, and Ricardo Costa. Easier field. Good start by Ken Scott. He's up from 12th to 9th place. Had a good start in race 1 too. He's got the starting procedure down, I think. James Butler and Steve Davidson going side by side. Butler slips past. And I think that's John Barker also getting through. Is it? Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. The repetitive liveries catching up with me there a little bit. So James Butler in behind Eric S. Butler was third place in race 1. Podium finisher and the highest of the podium finishers right now. Magic Kazchuk was also on the podium. He's down to 11th place. As I say that, he takes 10th from Ricardo Costa. And Theorolf in 8th, who was the race winner. Looking for a way past Eric S. Now, we saw Eric S. be, like, pretty calm, pretty composed in defense, and I'm expecting to see the same thing here as he takes on James Butler. Defended against João Carapau in the closing segments of the race in race 1. And he's on the podium right now. So, you know, he's got to be feeling good about things. Steve Davidson with John Barker on his tail. Then it's Carapau and the race winner from race 1, Tobias Theorolf, running in 8th place. On board with James Butler as we approach turn 1, the primary overtaking zone. Butler down the inside. He's got it. A little bit of contact, but nothing too extreme. And third place belongs to Mr. Boutelier. Martin Edmonds, in the meantime, in the lead. Got about a 2-second lead now. And you know he's hoping that Tobias Theorolf stays stuck in the bottle for a little bit. Hoping for some favors from the likes of John Barker, who you're looking at now. From the likes of Steve Davidson. From the likes of James Butler. Longtime ESR rivals, but also teammates upon occasion. Theorolf in the background there, going for a move on João Carapau. That'll be for 7th place. And he is kind of going around the outside there. Will he get it done? Carapau coming back at him. Battle is on. Carapau's got the track position. And it does look like the Portuguese driver is, at least for the time being, going to keep the spot. As I say that, Theorolf going down the inside and actually takes 7th place. That's what I get for not fully knowing the track and the right-left combinations of Lausitzring. I don't like this track. This is the site of arguably my worst drive ever. And oh, Steve Davidson spins Eric S. out. I don't know what the stewarding situation in this series is, but that could be a penalty. There's Ricardo Costa recovering from a little bit of an off. So Theorolf up at his 6th and on the attack. He's gotten past Carapau. He's gotten past Eric S. And now he wants to snack on John Barker. Barker trapped behind Steve Davidson. These two battled it out for 4th place in race 1, which Barker got the better of. And, well, they're meeting up for it again, but they're more importantly, I think, meeting up to try and stay ahead of Tobias Theorolf. They may want to not so much fight each other, but form a 2-man blockade against the man who was the fastest rocket on track in race number 1. James Butler up on the tail of René Ermer. Battle for 2nd place. He slides to the inside. Ermer looking to squeeze him. Ermer did not have a great race 1. That's why he's at the front here. But at the end of the day, I think that's going to go to Butler. And it does. James Butler got past Steve Davidson and now gets past René Ermer, not only up onto the podium, but into 2nd place. Here on lap 3. Theorolf has gotten past Barker, as has Carapau, so Barker getting shuffled back into the order. Next up for the German, Steve Davidson. There is that battle, in fact, on command. Magic Kaschuk has not made a lot of progress. He, of course, finished second in race 1, but is currently in 9th place, which is where he started. He's lost out to Thierolf and overtaken Eric S. Basically, Rene Ermer off track. And the Swiss driver will drop back probably near the back after that contact. Tobias Thierolf on the tail. Steve Davidson. Martin Evans has pulled out a 4.2 second lead over James Butler, although as I say that, it drops down to under 4 seconds. So Butler is eating into him, and Davidson is going to have to defend here against Thierolf. This is suddenly for a podium, and Thierolf is moving through into 3rd place. 4-time race winner Tobias Thierolf on the charge. Laissez-passer against John Barker. And Jacques Carapaud versus Steve Davidson battle for, respectively, 6th place and 4th place. Ermer is indeed back in 10th place. Eric S., who has also been off track, is in 9th. Ken Scott, Ricardo Costa. Oh, as I said, Costa overtakes Ken Scott. Rounding out the field, Jacques Carapaud in the top 5. As we begin lap number 5. Having a really itchy ear day. So, if you hear long periods of silence, that's probably what's happening. As Magic Kaschuk gets past John Barker and up into 7th position. He has been the least impressive of the podium sitters from race number 1. He's made some ground up, but like largely it's been just by the ill fortune of guys like Eric S. and Rene Ermer, more so than anything else. Like, he's overtaken John Barker, but he's also been overtaken by Tobias Thierolf, and hasn't made a lot of progress from his 9th place on the grid, only up in 8th place. Whereas Thierolf and Butler, who were on the podium, are up onto the podium again, albeit behind Martin Edmonds. By a fair ways, Edmonds has stretched that back out to 4.4 seconds. I'm very tempted to watch that video about Alpine not picking up Daniel Ricciardo. Kind of intrigued. He's by the race, and they usually do good work. So I'm looking forward to having a look at that. Also on my recommended list, Sabaton's not new song, but newish song, Father, which is about the scientist who, basically his work led to both feeding large swaths of humanity, but also to the use of mustard gas during World War I. So an interesting duality of legacy. Carapaud getting notably closer to Steve Davidson. We'll see what he can do. And there is Tobias Thierolf now on the back of James Butler. Race 1 winner. If he wants to win race number 2, I think he has to get past Butler pretty soon, because there's a 4+ second gap up to Martin Edmonds. And we're on lap 6 of what'll probably be 8 laps. So he is running out of time. There he is staring at the Reebok logo. Gonna try and hang it around the outside here. Butler going defensive. And it's not good enough. That is Thierolf up in his second place. So now only Martin Edmonds stands in between him and victory. Steve Davidson's been shuffled back a couple places, losing out to not only João Carapau, but also Laissez-Passer and Magic Kaschuk. So, looks like the overtake by Carapau was maybe a little bit physical. Pushed him wide and allowed the other cars to zip up as well. Now has John Barker on his tail. Rematch from race number 1. Ricardo Costa battling with Ken Scott. Good to see these two close together and getting some time wheel to wheel to work out their difficulties with the car. They had a rough race 1. They're having a rough race 2. But as time goes on, they're going to get more comfortable. And hopefully that's going to, translate into future rounds where, yes, it's not this car, but it is various different ideas of the Lausitzring layout. Laissez-Passer on the tail of Magic Kaschuk, who is up to 5th. So, recovering, slow start. Took him a while to kind of find his groove. Now he's in the groove, and now he's at the top 5. Gap at the front down to 3.8 seconds. So it is closing, but not at any kind of remarkable rate. Steve Davidson's got a little bit of breathing room back to John Barker now. And Eric S. not too far off there. You can see him there in the Reebok liveried car behind the Reebok liveried car of John Barker. Still don't know what that flag is. Hang on, let's look it up. Tri-colored flags. Should add national flags, probably. National flags. Horizontal. Oh, hang on. This might be it. It might be Sierra Leone. As Ken Scott recovers from an off. And Ricardo Costa waits for him. I think he's enjoying the battle. But yes, I think the flag is Sierra Leone. Not one that I would ever have particularly had encounters with. That gap is down to 2.2 seconds, which, I mean, that could just be Martin Edmonds trying not to make a mistake, trying to keep it on track. This is the last lap after all. But, Tobias has definitely turned on the exhaust burners, the afterburners here to catch up. He's actually pulled the 2-second gap to James Butler, so it is definitely him going for broke. He is pushing as Steve Davidson goes side by side with Laissez-Passer. Passer is going to hang on to 6th place, at least for the time being. Running out of time. This is the last lap. And the start-finish line is coming up. Checkered flag is out, so Martin Edmonds is your winner of race number 2. Theorolf and Butler will join him on the podium, followed by Carapau. Then Kazchuk, Passe, Davidson, Barker, S, Irmer, Costa, and Scott. We got one more race to go. Ken Scott with a ride over the dirt. Had a good little battle with Ricardo Costa. Good to see them duking it out. You know, way more enjoyable to be having a battle on track than just running by yourself. That is the thing that always it's the risk of sim racing, obviously, because if you find yourself in a field where like there's no one to fight with, it can be quite dull. So it is nice to see Costa and Scott getting into it and hopefully advancing their understanding of car control and racecraft. It's a late run here for Scott, maybe? And he's going to get it, I think. That is 11th place for Ken Scott. Ricardo Costa in 12th. Fastest lap to Theorolf again. He was 0.5 faster than anybody else, and the only other driver who got sub 2 minutes was race winner Martin Edmonds. So pole will go to Irmer in race number 3 with S joining him on the front row, and row 2 will be Barker and Davidson. So once again, those two cannot find any separation whatsoever. As for Theorolf, he couldn't win from 10th on the grid. Can he win from 9th on the grid? Find out. There is an MMA fighter who is talking about suing PFL, which is a fight promotion in the United States, for not giving him fights during COVID. That's an interesting idea. That's a weird take. Once again, reminding you that mixed martial arts fighters, not the most sane, rational, deep thinkers of the bunch. Love the sport. But that is the case. So we have another 50 seconds here of warm-up before race number 3 around the Lausitzring. Put your predictions down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to take race number 3? Irmer from pole. Not sure who I'm picking. Who am I picking? I feel like I gotta pick Tobias Thierolf to win race number 3. Like, he's coming from 9th on the grid, which is a long ways back. But he was not far from doing it in race number 2 from 10th place. And he just does seem to be in a completely different level. And the guys who can match him just are not far enough ahead of him, I don't think. I think in race 2, the key was that you had a Martin Edmonds out front. But Rene just doesn't seem as comfortable with the car. I haven't seen enough of Eric S. to really make that thought of him. And Davidson and Barker are kind of like scrapping way too hard. So that covers basically the entire front 2 rows actually of the grid. The guys who you would think would be prone to make that getaway, but they're just kind of not in the right place right now. So Irmer, S, lead us away. We have lost Ken Scott. We have lost Ricardo Costa. So race number 3, only 10 cars. Green flags are out, and here we go. A good start here for Irmer is key. Eric S is taking the lead apparently on the run down to turn 1. We will see. I don't trust any of this until we get to the end of the. Irmer might have dropped to 3rd actually. And it does look like S has gotten the lead out there. A lot of Reebok cars at the front. That's going to be hard to take apart. You've got S, you've got Irmer, Barker, Butler, all in the same livery, all at the front, and it's a little bit of a nightmare right now. Steve Davidson, Passe, Kaschuk, Carapau, Edmonds, and Thierolf, your top 10, and your only racers because we have lost the other 2 cars. John Barker looking down the inside of Rene Irmer. This has gotten a really good start. He's pulled out a 0.8 of a second lead. Barker down the inside, Butler looking at both of them hungrily. Yeah, gets a little bit of contact there with John Barker. I don't like where Irmer is right now. Feels like he could easily be hung out to dry here. And in fact, I think he has been already. Barker is through, and Butler is working on joining him. Passe up to 5th. Davidson down to 7th behind Carapau. And no, Ricardo Costa is still here. So, who do we lose? Who do we lose? We've got Irmer, we've got S, we've got Barker, we got Butler. Magic Kaschuk! We lost Magic Kaschuk. That's who it is. Rene Irmer has gone from pole position down to 5th place as he loses a spot there to Laissez-Passer. Steve Davidson down the inside there. 6th place ahead of Carapau. Edmonds in the background along with Tobias Thierolf, who is still in 9th. So my pick to win has not really made his way through the field much. But we're only on lap 2. Mind you, I say that as if there are more than 8 laps. So lap 2 is, at the end of lap 2, we will be 1/4 distance. So there is that. James Butler looking for his 3rd podium. He's taking a second he's taking 2/3. 2/3 so far. Him and Thierolf looking for the clean sweep of podiums. And Magic Kaschuk is here. What is going on with the tower positions? Because at the beginning of the race, I was pretty sure we'd lost Ken Scott and Ricardo Costa. Then Costa reappeared. By the way, a big power slide in the background from Laissez passes. Butler and Barker battle over second place. And then Kazchuk disappeared. And now Kazchuk is back. Are we only getting the top 10 in the tower? The on-screen positions there? I don't know. I'm a little confused. James Butler battling with John Barker. And Eric S. is happy with this because he is not pulled that a long way. Just 1.1 seconds. He's going to need more than that, I think. But we'll find out. Butler looking down the inside into turn 1. Yeah, there is a car running behind Kazchuk. So, yeah, there's at least 11 cars. I don't know if we still have Ken Scott. We may have lost Ken Scott. But we do at least have 11 cars. So Ricardo Costa not being listed on the screen, but is running. That's interesting. Gap is closing. S has lost a little bit of his gap. In fact, actually quite a bit. It's down to 0.7 of a second. So he's lost about 0.3 to Barker and Butler. Butler looking to try and go around the outside. We'll see if he can do it. I don't think so. I think Barker should hold this. It's a long turn to try to go around the outside at. And Barker does. Hang on. Thirol's still only a 9th, so he is still not really charging. Looking for a way past Jacques Carapau. He is the red and black car at the back end of this 9-car train that realistically any of these guys could win. Which is interesting. It's thrilling and fascinating. Right now, it is the racer from Sierra Leone, Eric S., leading the way. See if Butler goes through it again here at turn 1. Nah, he's too far back. So Barker gets to chill this time. And Thierolf has cleared Carapau. Edmonds going side by side with Ermer. Can't get the job done. But he does get it through, I'm going to assume probably turn 2. Through that little snake at the beginning. And that's 6th place for him. And more importantly, it gives him a car between him and Tobias Thierolf. Who is the danger man? Who is the fastest guy on track? Race 1 winner, runner-up in race 2. That was from 10th on the grid. But coming from 9th on the grid today, he's only made 1 spot up into 8th place. Having overtaken Magic Kazchuk and Jacques Carapau, but losing his spot to Martin Edmonds in the process. John Barker putting the pressure on Eric S. Going down the inside. I think he's got it. Escorts him right to the edge of the track, giving him no option but to cede that position. And the Brits have a leader for the 2nd time today. But Barker gets out of shape, and Eric S. will just take that right back. James Butler on the attack as well. Thierolf overtaking Ermer. That's another spot for him. Butler and Barker side by side. And Barker goes from looking really solid in 1st place to suddenly in 3rd place. This is what happens when you're in pack racing. One mistake is going to have a knock-on effect, a magnifying effect. And he is going to get past Butler there. Butler gets very out of shape. Gets a little bit physical with the Frenchman, Laissez-Passer, but will hang on to third place. In the meantime, Thierolf has overtaken Steve Davidson and is up into 6th place. Edmonds also getting past Davidson. So the race winners are together, battling over 5th place. And Eric S. still in the lead here on lap 5 of a theoretical 8. This is a timed race, so technically it could be less than 8 laps. Depending on the pace, depending on, you know, massive pileups. Riding on board with Laissez-Passer. On the tail of Butler and Barker. And in the background, somebody is off. I assume that is João Carapau. And it is. He'll drop back behind Magic Kazchuk. Rene Ermer moving very slowly. I wonder if he may or may not have played a role in the off there for Carapau. And is obeying the gentleman code of conduct. Into the wall goes John Barker. He rejoins and contacts Martin Edmonds a little bit there. Or pardon me, that was James Butler, not John Barker. Butler remains in 2nd, but Passet is up into 3rd now. Butler somehow hung on to 4th place and all that. Oh, Passet going really deep. Butler's through. Back into 3rd. Martin Edmonds into 4th briefly. Loses control a little bit. Passet gets through. Thierolf gets through. Contact. Davidson. Just a little more, guys. He can smell a top 5. After all that, I think we ended up with just Thierolf overtaking Edmonds. Kazchuk, by the way, has a very messed up looking front end. So he is likely not the fastest car out there right now. We'll just leave it at that. The Reebok cars still somehow locking out the podium. S, Barker, and Butler. And we are on lap 6 of 8. This has been the best race, I think, of the 3 by a long shot. Been a boom, absolute home run. And here I am rooting. I've never seen a driver from Sierra Leone take a victory, so go Eric S. We've got the rally cap on. James Butler going very wide there. Rejoins. Hanging on against Laissez-Passer, maybe? But I think Passet is going to get this. And, oh no, Tobias Thierolf! Gets hit by Steve Davidson. Got spun already. Davidson trying to avoid him and just couldn't get it done. Davidson will rejoin in 6th place. Or Thierolf will rejoin in 6th place. Davidson likely in 7th. We'll see how that goes. John Barker now with a little bit of breathing room. He's on the attack against Eric S. Love you, John. But this is all... The Eric S. fan club has invaded the commentary booth. They are holding me at gunpoint, and I have no choice but cheer for the man from Sierra Leone. And his slim 0.4 of a second lead here with a lap and change to go. Somebody off there. Didn't catch whom. It looks like it probably was João Carapau who was dropping back. John Barker takes the lead. Power slide from Eric S. Couldn't hang on. Couldn't hang on. Hell of an effort, though. And John Barker goes through the front. Laissez-Passer on the podium right now. James Butler in 4th. Edmonds in 5th. This top 5 is still covered by Less than 5 seconds because there's not a second gap to be had between any of them. On board with James Butler. Trying to go around the outside. Nothing. Oh, no, he did get it, actually. Oh, nope. Never mind. Never mind. Drifting a little bit there, and Passe retakes third. Edmonds will get fourth out of the deal. But Butler fights back and takes the position back. Butler does not know the meaning of discretion is the better part of valor. I will say that as a race car driver. He is going to fight you tooth and nail. It's like trying to eat a $2 steak. It's not happening. Taking a position away from James Butler. Into turn one again for the last time. Edmonds gets a little too much to the curb. Oh! Floated into Butler there and forced him off track. That was a little bit lucky. John Barker's still in the lead. Eric S. Laissez-passer. Martin Edmonds. James Butler. Which of these 5 is taking it home? And I'm not even entirely certain I can rule out Tobias Thierolf. He is closing the gap. Back in 6th place. The red and black is coming. Davidson, Kazchuk, Ermer, and Carapau, your top 10. Laissez-passer, looking for the podium. Time has expired. This will be the final lap. Around Lausitzring for today here for the Nissan Skyline 320's what is the car name again? I screwed up and forgot the car name. R32K, there you go. Skyline in effect. Laissez-passer on the attack against Eric Ness. Ness hanging on. Edmonds being attacked by Butler. I assure you, Butler is not done with them. And he may want to be because Thierolf is coming down as Ness makes a mistake there. Will drop to 3rd place behind Laissez-passer. There is Tobias Thierolf. He is all over the back of James Boutelier. Eric S. falls off the podium. Martin Edmonds takes it. John Barker is going to be your winner. Ahead of Laissez-passer, Martin Edmonds. James Butler taking 4th at the line. Ahead of Eric S. Tobias Thierolf, Steve Davidson, Magic Kazchuk, Rene Ermer, João Carapau, your top 10. And I don't know if we had Ken Scott. We did have Ricardo Costa, but something weird happened with the overlay tower. And I'm not sure who has 11th place as a result. We'll find out. There it is. Oh, nope, they didn't make it. Ken Scott and Ricardo Costa both DNFing. Alrighty. So, championship standings. Keep in mind there are scratch results in play here. 102 points from Tobias Thierolf. 99 for Martin Edmonds. That's interesting that it is that close, because this race would not have led me to believe that. James Butler in 3rd on 86 points. Magic Kazchuk on 85. Anthony Willis on 76. John Barker on 67. Vic Vega, who is absent today, on 67 as well. Rene Ermer on 59. Bertrand Baudrier was absent. He's on 57. And 47 for Skatnik, who is also absent today. I hope you enjoyed the one-man commentary booth. Once again, you can find me, Mio Dread, on Discord. You can find my podcast, BO on MMA, on YouTube, Spotify, Acast, and Anchor.